the last time. There you go. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Awesome day. Like I was working on some things before. I was like getting a little fired up. Being a chiropractor, working on people's nervous systems all the time, I get to see how much impact stress and mindset has on people. And I'm telling you, it's where 90% of people's problems come from. Diet will have a huge impact, and changing your behavior and exercising, absolutely. And some people they need that the most, and that's the easiest to change. So that's where you start off with fasting, with learning how to not be hungry. But the real heart of the matter is that we have to change how we think and how we function and change our beliefs. And that's where the real growth will happen, because in quantum physics, and I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see where that is. Oh yeah, it's right here. Share. Let me get to here. There we go. So up to here. Oh yeah. I don't want to have that on there. Oh, I know what I need to do. Hold on a second. It's double. I got microphone. It's double. I got microphone. All right. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
All right, good. What happened is I had the microphone on and it was just replaying into my microphone. Right. Maybe I'll even do this and let me make sure it's live. Yep, it's live. Okay. All right. So people are going to start rolling in, and you can see that screen, everyone. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Does anyone have any questions so far, or want to come on or ask anything about intermittent fasting? And all right. So some of the questions coming in, what breaks a fast? You know, some people's definition of what breaks a fast is different. I want to keep this group wicked simple. I don't want it to be complicated. So to me, anything that causes an insulin response causes you to break your fast, which is like something carbs or sugar. So I don't think that like apple cider vinegar or something like bone broth, it does have some protein in it, the bone broth, but it's going to minimally break your fast if it does at all. And it's not going to cause an insulin response, which is what we're trying to do, is reduce insulin resistance. And that's what we're going to try to do. So that's what we're doing in the beginning. And so I think those things are fine. Black coffee, water. You're going to get to the point, if you do this and you do it for an extended time, that you're not going to be hungry. You're going to feel like you can go without having coffee or bone broth or fat or anything. And that's where, that's the better part of it, is that your body will heal better and it'll detox faster. But if you need tools in the beginning, if you need to add some butter and coconut oil in your coffee, some MCT oil, you need bone broth. If you need to have some eggs over easy, some hard-boiled eggs to get through, it's better than going back to your old behavior and having bagels and donuts and things. And I'd rather you reprogram your cells and slowly go into this versus doing too much, getting either detoxing faster than you should and getting sick and then giving up. So that's what I'd prefer you guys to do. And, you'll find that the intermittent fasting, the diet, really important for the brain. Supplements, nootropics for the brain, big. Okay, would love some examples of fat to put in coffee. Well, grass-fed butter. You can put a little bit if you've not done that. And if you don't have a gallbladder, you got to be more careful. Or if you have stones or thick bile, you got to be more careful. That's why people have to experiment. But I put some Kerrygold grass-fed butter. I put a little bit of coconut oil, or MCT oil. If you've never heard of that, you can look it up. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but that could be something you could put in, and that would go in. And what we're doing with the fat is, one, it doesn't break your fast. It doesn't cause an insulin response. And number two is it satiates you. It makes you so you're not hungry. That's the whole idea of this, is to not be hungry and to reduce our cravings so we don't go back and self-sabotage to our old selves of eating junk. And once your cells start to metabolize fat properly, you're going to get less and less hungry. And it might take you months, it might take you a year. Once you get there, you'll know. So if you are craving, if you're going 16 hours and you're starving, what that means is that you are pre-diabetic, or you were already had partially type 2 diabetes, and your body was not getting fuel properly and it was craving food, and you were miserable and hungry, or you have an addiction to sugar and you're reversing your addiction to that. That's what's happening in the beginning. So if you're having that, that's what's going on. And we're trying to extend our window of eating, feed our brain the right fuel. And it's, we just start here with this one right here, that yes, this is not a doctor-patient relationship. I don't treat, diagnose, or manage disease. You guys are all doing this on your own. And if you have any concerns, you need to consult with your doctor before you start, because people are starting from different places. Some people don't have gallbladders. Some people have intestinal problems. They have leaky gut syndrome. They have irritable bowel. They have diverticulitis. They have had liver issues and cirrhosis. And since you're all starting in different places, the group that I work with in the 4 and the week and the 6 month, we could go dive a little deeper, but you got to be just, if you're doing this on your own, just do a little bit at a time. Instead of putting, a whole bunch of butter and a whole bunch of coconut oil, put a little bit and see how you do. If you're trying electrolytes and you're doing that, don't put the whole scooper in, try a little bit and see how you do, and give your body a taste of it and slowly go into things to see how it reacts. You're going to have a better experience if you do that. Trust me on that. I've learned a lot over time. So we're going to dive into mindset if no one else has any questions about the fasting, because I try to give you simple things to do, the mindset and the fasting. And this whole program has been a lot of information. Don't get overwhelmed by it. Like if you're new to this group, like some people that are in this group have done my groups already, and they've been in my group since last year. They already have the basic stuff down because they've had it repeated to them. It's into their subconscious mind, and it's a habit now. And now they're adding to the new habit. Some of you are taking notes. There's a lot of information. I'm not doing that to try to overwhelm or confuse you. That's not my purpose. I'm just trying to get a whole bunch of information in a short time. Maybe take 1 or 2 things from each of my, or take 1 or 2 things from this whole program and say, okay, I'm going to work on those 2. I'm going to make those a habit. And then I'm going to go to the next thing. I'm going to make it simple. And then I'm going to go to the next thing. And that's what you need to do if you're going to be successful, is get a system down, get into a habit of one thing you want to focus and be clear on, and then go to the next thing. And then go to the next thing and keep adding to it. And what you'll find is once you get the intermittent fasting down, once you get the diet down, like I don't have time to go into all the individual foods, but in my private ones, I give you a food list, a 2-week menu, all the brands I recommend. I'm working on where do you get those brands? I'll even go through like Market Basket has these. These are the places that have Costco and BJ's have this. These are the brands I found that work the best. I'm having a shake now. This has some keto powder in it that I use. This, which is just MCT oil powder. This has chia seeds. This has some hemp seeds and cacao nibs with some blueberries and some unsweetened coconut milk. That's what I do. And there's all kinds of different stuff you could put in shakes that helps your brain work better. But don't get overwhelmed with the information. I don't do that to confuse people. I do that because there's so much information. I mean, I've forgotten more stuff than I've even taught in here and in my other groups, because there's so much stuff to learn and to do. And I'm constantly learning new stuff. But to keep it simple, you do the fasting, you drink more water. That's why we only did those 2 things. And then when you get those down and you start to feel better, and already some patients that are mine that are doing this for the first time have noticed they can focus better. People are noticing their faces thinning out a little bit. Even if they haven't lost weight, they're noticing more color in their face, like the red's coming back. And some of these little things, that's great, because that's the body starting to get healthier. Now we're going to go over mindset, stress, and habits today, which is, again, my favorite subject of energy and stress. So why do so many people not finish what they started? A lot of people, New Year's, January is the time. I didn't even want to do it the beginning of January. Why? Because there's so many people. I wanted to kind of slow into the year. I don't really need to go right from the January 1st. Why? Because this is not going to be a different month for me. My months have been set up. I'm structured. I'm zoomed in, and I don't need to start a New Year's resolution. It's just going to be continuing on and expanding on what I did last year. So many people do not finish what they started because they get overwhelmed and they don't have a system. Then they self-sabotage. And half of this time it's from the mindset and the conscious and the subconscious. So mindset and understanding how the conscious and subconscious mind works, this is the key to success. There's a difference between the two. The conscious mind can accept information, and you can accept or reject it. Once things get into the subconscious, you don't have control over it. It's almost like a record player that's playing. If a record's playing, you can't tell the record player, listen, change the words on that record. It doesn't care. It's going to continue to play. Why? Because the record's already set. It's like pre-programmed to run like a CD. You can't change it and you can't edit it. Well, that's what the subconscious is. It just automatically plays. It doesn't care what your subconscious tells it. It's subconsciously programmed to do something. What I'm going to teach about here is how to start working on the subconscious, which is where everything happens. We have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind, and it's broken down into different pieces. We're going to go over a little bit of the laws of attraction. This is also where beliefs come in. What is laws of attraction in quantum physics? Well, Newtonian physics was anything bigger than atoms. Physical matter, a wall here. If you were to go into quantum physics, it's things smaller than atoms, electrons, neurons, the study of energy. And the laws of attraction are that at the deeper subatomic level, likes attract. Happiness attracts happiness. Success attracts success. Wealth attracts wealth. Whatever you define, joy attracts joy. It's where the things are attracted at the deepest level. So one of the ways to find out where you are in your conscious or subconscious mind is what's attracting to you into your life. Are you always running into difficult people and things? That means that that's what your subconscious thinks it deserves. That's the record that's playing. That's what attracts to your life. You know you're getting places when you start to run into the right people. The wrong people start to leave your life and the right people start to come in. When you start manifesting things into the subconscious, and talking to yourself like you already have them. I am successful. I am super happy. Just as I am. I don't need anything today. What are you telling the universe? I don't need anything. That means I have everything. What does the universe say? Well, now I'll give you more of what you already think you have, because your brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. And the subconscious level, they're the same. And what happens, and when we're young, about the first 7 years of our life, we have mostly a subconscious mind. There's really not a conscious mind that develops over time. So what is the subconscious mind? It just gets in all this information, and a lot of our subconscious, our beliefs, our values are formed by the time we're 7 years old. And we can't stop what's coming in. And a lot of people, that's where the problem lies, is that we were brought up in dysfunctional households. Our parents were arguing, they were going through a divorce. They said, you can't do that, or don't do this, or you'll never amount to anything. It gets into the subconscious mind. And what happens is it stays there if you don't reprogram it forever. And what happens is that's why people 30, 40 years later are still having the same problems that was brought up into their subconscious mind when they were little, because that's all they knew. It's an underlying playing under there. And the one thing you need to get what you want is to know what you want and act like you already have it. Beliefs versus knowing. I was at a seminar and this guy's like, all right, who in the room believes in God? And everyone raised their hand. And he's like, you either raised your hand because you believed in God, or you were afraid not to raise your hand and be the person who doesn't raise their hand. He goes, I don't believe in God. He goes, I know God. And there's a big difference between believing and knowing. And when you know something, you don't need to convince nobody else. You don't need to try to talk somebody else and change your view. When you know something, you know it as fact. Like no one could argue with me that the earth is round. I mean, there'll be people that are flat earthers still, but I know that it's round. I know that all the other planets, why would our planet be the only planet wasn't round before we knew anything? But if you were 600 years ago and you told someone, listen, I think the earth is round, you could be hung. Why? Because everyone believed that the earth was flat, but it wasn't true. But that's what they believed. When you believe like, oh, I have to work harder to get what I want. Well, sometimes you don't. Maybe you have to change your mind of what you think you deserve. And maybe that's what's blocking things. And they say that when you get to a point where you do nothing and you have everything, that's when the conscious mind is programmed that you have everything you need. And what do you need to do to manifest it? You just have to know what you want. And that's beliefs versus knowing. So synergy, the physical, chemical, emotional, and spiritual come together. When you know you are wealthy, healthy, successful, lovable, likable, happy, prosperous, it all comes to you. And you have to start talking to yourself like you already have it. And you have reasons or results. Most people know what to do. They're not doing the work, and they don't do the work long enough to get results. And you need a why in life and clarity. So a lot of people say if you want, it's the ability to focus on one thing and manifest that one thing and then go to the next thing. So what I like to do is I don't like to set goals. I like healthy habits and targets versus goals. Because a lot of people in the New Year's, their goal is to lose 50 pounds. What's going to happen? Some people will lose 50 pounds. What do they do after that? They don't have any other thing else to do. That's their goal. What happens when you reach a goal? You stop because you've achieved your goal. What happens with the target? When you hit targets, you have your next target. So you should have your weekly, your quarterly, your 3, 6, 30, 60, and 90 days, your quarterly, your 1 year, your 5 year, and your 10 year. Where do you want to be? Do you have those clearly defined of where you want? Now, that doesn't mean that you're always going to get it, but you should have some kind of things clearly lined up. So how do you start manifesting what you want? Knowing what you want. And it depends on what you want. You might want to give back. Like, what is your why? What is your clarity? Go to this slide here. Where is it? I don't know if I had it over here. I think I skipped something. So mindset, beliefs, finish what they started. Oh yeah, my why, my story, my struggles. I like to say your mess is your message. So I skipped over my why here. In your why, like I had my own health setbacks. I struggled when I was younger. I told the story in the first day, and I went to some holistic health doctors and I got help, which totally changed my life to the point where I wanted to give back. And that was my why of becoming a chiropractor, because I had my own health struggles. I went through my own mess. You know, we all grow up in dysfunctional households in their own way. My mom had some problems. My dad had some problems. No, nobody's house is perfect, but it really has an impact on your subconscious and your conscious mind when you're a kid. And these things shape your whole life. And so my message, I had a lot of emotional stress when I was little as well. I got bullied. I had trouble making friends. And I thought, you know, my self-esteem was damaged. I thought there was something wrong with me. And then when that image goes out, you're going out like you're afraid to be around people. And now no one wants to be around you because you're putting out that vibe, that message, that subconscious, and that shapes our whole lives. And if you grew up in a house with your mother was codependent, your father was a narcissist or someone, and you're trying to break the cycle, but then you find yourself repeating and in the same kind of behavior as your parents were, this is what causes repeated behavior. And this is why I like to say that it's not genetics. It's habitual. It's not hereditary all the time. It's not like you got bad genes and you're doomed to that. A lot of us, we pick up on subconscious programming from our parents, from the people that we were around and our friends and our influencers. And then we became like that. And it was more habitual. It was our habits that shaped our lives and what kind of jobs we got, what kind of friends we had, what kind of relationships we attract. And that's where the meat of the matter is. And that's why sometimes your mess is your message. Like, you know, I'm not just a traditional, I crack your back chiropractor. We look into the emotional components sometimes with people that need it. we look into stresses and the physical and the chemical and emotional stresses and all the things that could cause a problem, because sometimes it's at a deeper level. When I went to go get help, and one of the holistic doctors, he said, all your symptoms you're getting are your solution, not your problem. And he started explaining, like, if you have a lot of stress, why would your body give you headaches? Why would it give you stomach aches? Why would it give you bad digestive system? Because it's trying to make you think of something else other than your stress. It's the solution. So your subconscious brain says, the body wasn't meant to be sick and it wasn't meant to be healthy. It was meant to survive. So it survives on a second to second basis. And what it does is it looks at it like, is thinking about this 24/7, it's going to make me sick. So what am I going to do? I'm going to give you gout. I'm going to give you sciatica. I'm going to give you back pain and neck pain so you can't think of it. I'm going to give you, every time you eat, a tummy ache and acid reflux so that you can't think of the real problem, which is the 6 inches between your ears of what you've been thinking about. That's the problem. And a lot of this stuff gets into memory and it runs our body like an automatic program, like a virus in a computer. There's nothing wrong with my physical computer. It's the programming that gets screwed up. We have to figure out ways to reprogram the brain. And the brain has different parts. I mean, you have a conscious, a subconscious, and an unconscious. And some people say a non-conscious and then a superconscious. You could say the superconscious is like God, the all-knowing everything in the universe. And then the unconscious, the subconscious, and then the conscious mind, and they're different. And part of the reasons I started this program was because of all the struggles and messes I went through. And then I was in practice for a while. And what did I find? There's a lot of people that don't hold their adjustments and they have other problems that keep coming back. And every time you adjust it, even if it goes in good, why does it keep coming back out? There has to be something else. That's why I started developing these programs, and my podcast and the Healthy Me program was, well, part of the problem is people aren't holding, they're out of alignment. So my chiropractic practice is putting people in alignment and trying to find out why they go out of alignment. But I found out it's a lot of it is because of bad habits and bad behavior and a programming into the subconscious mind. So that's when I started building my programs for this, because I started as just diet, intermittent fasting, and weight loss. How many people are doing that? A ton. You can go anywhere for that and you'll see a whole bunch of programs, and everyone's trying to sell all their programs to people, but they're not addressing the deeper down stuff. Because after doing this for a couple of years, I have found it's the mind that really runs everything. So the diet and the behavior and the habits are all built towards making the mind work better. And the side effect is everything else will take care of itself. So synergy, when you know you're healthy, the knowingness. So we already went over this, your why and clarity. So stress statistics, 44% of Americans feel more stressed than they did 5 years ago. This was before COVID. I bet you that number is 65, 75, 85% now than they did 2 years ago. 1 in 5 Americans experience extreme stress, heart palpitations, shaking, depression. 3 out of 4 doctor's visits are stress related. Stress is a basic cause of 60% of human diseases and illnesses, and it increases the risk of heart disease by 40%, heart attacks 25%, strokes 50%. You could throw cancers in there. 40% of stressed people overeat and eat unhealthy food, and 44% lose sleep almost every night. You know how much of a big problem sleep is to people? I hear it all the time. People have trouble sleeping. They grind their teeth. Their jaws are hurting. You work on their neck to adjust that because they have all this undealt with tension that comes out in their sleep. And when the subconscious or the delta brain, you have like 4 parts. Delta is the low, really low vibrational, deep sleep vibrational, REM sleeping. Then you got theta, which is like your low vibrational brain. That's when you're either in hypnosis, and there's someone on here listening that does hypnosis. This girl, Jackie, who she's going to come on my podcast and talk about it. And she's probably all excited about this, what we're doing today, because she has a program herself, and we're going to talk more about it on the podcast, and she's going to come on and I'll share it with the group of her, giving her how she helps to help people heal with bad habits and behavior like smoking and addictions and other things. But We have to reprogram ourselves, because the theta is when either you're going to sleep, you're just starting to nod off, or you just wake up. That's when you can start to get more stuff into the subconscious mind, which is why it's so important to go to bed confirming affirmations and things like, you know, I am focusing on the present moment. I see what I can do now. What I do now is going to determine where I am going. I let go of all doubt and stress. I know what I want is already mine. I'm vibrating on the same frequency of having it. I am fully aligned myself with the desire. This is all just preparation for what is to come. I am fulfilling my purpose. I have created the perfect life for myself. I have abundant faith in myself. I look forward to waking up every morning. I am grateful for having everything I have. I am grateful for being able to live my dream life at every turn. Opportunity appears before me. Everything that I need is being supplied now. I am in charge. I am the creator. You start going to bed with affirmations and getting up and reading your affirmations when you're just starting to wake up. You can get some of that message into your subconscious. And your subconscious is like an automatic system. You have control over your conscious mind. You can accept or reject things that come in, but once they're in the subconscious. That's what runs the programming. So I cannot emphasize this enough. It is not what happens to you. It's how you react to what happens to you. So you can spit in someone's face, but you can't make them mad. You can't do it. The person has to choose if they get mad or not. And how many people are triggered? If you want to know how healthy your nervous system is, from trigger to response, how long does it take when someone cuts in front of someone and they freak out? They're angry beings. They don't have any control of their nervous system. They take pills to go to bed at night. They drink coffee to wake up in the morning. Their body's a stressed out ball of stress. And so they have no more control and reactionary, and they take it out on everyone. That's the people who complain about everything and are just negative Nellies to be around. I feel bad for those people because they have so much stress. It's eaten out their nervous system, and they have no control over their subconscious anymore. So if you wish to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla, one of my favorite scientists and guys who studied physics and quantum physics. It's the doubt we place in our heads, our changing frequencies and changing our minds. What do they say? Successful people make up their mind quickly. They make a quick decision and change it slowly. Unsuccessful people make decisions really slow and change their minds very quick. And that's the difference between the two kind of people. When you start getting in the habit of making quick decisions and having purpose behind those decisions, boom, great things start to happen. And you start to reprogram your mind. Like, I can make up my mind fast. I'm changing it slow. Most of the time, if you're connected to yourself, you already know what you're going to do. It's just a matter of, are you listening to your gut and your vibrational frequencies? So it's the doubt we place in our heads, our changing frequencies, our inability to hold that one thought, vision, or desire for extended time that takes us off our path. A new thought is a new frequency. So every time you have a new thought, you change your frequencies. Now, Tesla was big on frequencies, and he did all these statistics. And I have some of these things in a book that I've been reading about, he said that 3, 6s, and 9s show up everywhere in the universe. He said, if you take a biological pattern, which is followed in the development of cells and embryos, when cells get multiplied, 1 goes into 2, 2 goes into 4, right? 4 goes into 8, 8 goes into 16. Now, if you added 16, 1 plus 6 is 7. So if you took 16 and doubled it, 32, 3 plus 2 is 5. That's a 5. And then if you took 32 plus 32 is 64. 6 plus 4 is 10. That you could call that a 0 because 1 plus 0 is 0. And then after that, if you repeat it, 64 plus 64 is what? 128. 1 plus 2 plus 8 is back to 1. And then it repeats itself. But notice the 3, 6s, and 9s never show up. And so the significance of those is that in the universe, when patterns repeat, they don't show up very often, but they show up all the time in circles. Like if you take a diameter of a circle, 360 degrees, what's 3 plus 6 plus 0? 9. Half of it, what's 180? What's 1 plus 8? 9. What's 45 degrees? 4 plus 5 is 9. nine never, if you took 9 plus 9 is 18, 1 plus 8 equals what? 9. It keeps showing up. And if you double that, 18 plus 18 is 36. 3 plus 6 is 9. These show up. And he said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, the 3 6s and 9s are important. And you could start using those, like you read a affirmation 3 times every morning, 6 times in the afternoon, and 9 times at night, and start repeating it, and with clarity of what you want, especially when you're just waking up and before you go to bed. And what happens is it starts to manifest what you want. And it's the 3 6s and 9s in the universe that start attracting things. There's videos on this that are out, and he did all these things. He had like let me see. I like numbers, so they're significant to me, but he did if you do the circumference of the earth and you add up all the numbers and the speed of light, they all ends up being 3 6s or 9s, everything in the universe. The speed of light is 186,282 miles a second. 1 plus 8 plus 6 plus 2 plus 8 plus 2 equals 27. And 2 plus 7 equals 9. And the diameter of the sun equals 9. Diameter of the earth, 9. Diameter of the moon, everything. Seconds in a week, seconds in a day, seconds in an hour, seconds in a month. There's a significance to those numbers. And he didn't give a lot of secrets because Thomas Edison was stealing his secrets. And he wanted to give free electricity to everybody. And he was building systems where he was lighting up wireless bulbs from 20 miles away. And he was going to provide free electricity for everyone. And Thomas Edison, who had Edison power plant, wanted to sell electricity. And what happened? He started stealing his ideas. They think that Nikolai Tesla created the light bulb. Edison stole his idea. He wanted to give out free electricity and find out in micro electromagnetic the significance of these things. Anyway, long story short, we are frequency, and how we do things in certain frequencies and orders have an impact on what we attract in our life. So if you wish to understand that, it's the doubt we place in our heads, and we have to change our thoughts and frequencies. And he had these frequencies that are like different moods. He called them the 6 solfeggio frequencies, which is 396 hertz, 417 hertz. I don't know the significance of these, but they all end up being 3 6s and 9s of all these frequencies, and the frequency of love, the frequency of things. If you ever study the dude who was taking water and putting like love on the cup and then freezing it, and then they were looking at the patterns that happen in the cup when they freeze it, is there beautiful symmetrical patterns and they're all different. If you put love on the outside of a cup and freeze that cup, the crystals look a certain way. If you put like joy, if you put like happiness, they all have different patterns into them. And a lot of things are frequencies and vibrations. We have to start programming our mind with patterns and frequencies and repetition to attract the things we want in our life. So a function of the brain is to create coherence between your programs and reality. Why? Because your conscious mind, you should not eat the donut, but your subconscious mind wants to go back to that. Why do people, they can't get rid of their cravings and their addictions to things? They know they shouldn't have it. Why? Because their conscious mind says they shouldn't have it. But the subconscious mind might say, you know what? If you're overweight and fat, or if you don't like who you are and your self-image, what are you doing? You're insulating who you are. That's why people overeat, because subconsciously, they don't think they should look attractive. And what do? They self-sabotage by keep eating the same things and doing the same people, doing the same patterns, attracting the same kind of relationships that are self-destructive all the time. Why? Because they don't think they're worthy. That's the subconscious. You'll never find the right person, or you're a loser, and somebody told you that when you were young. And this is a big problem nowadays with young women and men, because the internet has destroyed people, and social media and the attacks that are on there, because these kids, they think that if you put someone else down, it's going to keep them up at a higher pedestal. Well, you know what? If you know anything about business, when you're at the top of the mountain, the best way to stay there is to lift up all your friends to the top of the mountain. It's not to push people down, because they'll find a way to knock you off the mountain. But if you invite them up, you could stay there a lot longer. and having connections with other people is huge. So subconscious does not think, judge, or reason. It responds perfectly every time. That is why people who try to, oh, I'm going to think differently, I'm going to respond differently, they end up with the same problems they always had because they don't really get to the subconscious of what's happening to them. And that's the mindset, conscious mind, the thinking mind. You can accept or reject any idea. Most people accept the idea. We should reject and reject the ones to accept. So most people accept the ideas we should reject and reject the ones we should be accepting. The subconscious cannot tell the difference between what is real and imagined. It is the emotional mind. It has to accept what you give it and emotionalize it, which means there's feeling involved in it. When you're enthusiastic and excited about something, like, the conscious mind is, I didn't know my ABCs when I was little, and they're teaching me in school, and I'm starting to get it in my conscious. A, B, C. What comes after that? A, B, C, D, E. Once you got it in your subconscious mind, you had it, you don't need to relearn it. You know it for the rest of your life. So the subconscious cannot know the difference between what is real and imagined, and it is the emotional mind. It has to accept what you give it. What happens? We've played that record, that broken record of low self-esteem, being the victim. We only have two choices in certain things. And we've played that so long that that's our subconscious, and our conscious mind says, I want to get out of this pattern. I want to be great. I want to be successful. And what are you saying when you say, I want to be successful? You're telling your subconscious, I'm not successful. When you start to say, I am, we'll get to that in a second, but conscious mind, rationalization, willpower, short-term memory, planning, critical thinking, decisions, and judgment. Then we go to the subconscious mind, which is long-term memory, emotions, creativity, habits. So your habits are in the subconscious, not in your conscious mind. What do you have to do if you want to get good habits? Repeat them enough to get them into the subconscious mind, and do it with emotion and enthusiasm. And then what's the unconscious mind? That's more the automatic control of pulse, respiration, immune system. That is our innate vagus nerve, is more the unconscious. Like if you passed out and you were no longer conscious, even if you held your breath, eventually if you held it for long enough, you'd pass out. But what would happen? Your unconscious mind would kick in and you start breathing again because it shut off your conscious mind. So that's the automatic systems. But our subconscious can help control our unconscious systems. That's why people get sick, because it screws up their blood pressure. It screws up their digestive system. It screws up their immune system. It screws up their hormone system, because the mind at the top and the conscious and the subconscious control the unconscious. And eventually it ends up running like a memory engram, they call it, where your body runs off of memory, not what's actually happening to you. So conscious mind can program the subconscious mind. Most of our subconscious activity and behaviors was programmed without awareness. That means that from 0 to 7, it was programmed, and then things that are repeated through our life. Most of the day, people, it's how you talk to yourself all day. Do you say, I got this, I'm a winner, I'm super successful, I am grateful and thankful that I have, and you fill in the blanks? Or do you say, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I never have enough time for myself. Oh, I never get things right. I'm never on time. I'm never can get this right. What happens? Your subconscious listens to that, and boom, how you talk to yourself becomes your reality. So we can consciously reprogram the subconscious mind to change beliefs and emotions and habits. And this is where Jackie, I think, is going to talk about that. She tries to get into the theta waves and hypnosis to reprogram people's thoughts and addictions, that if you can get into hypnosis when the brain's at a theta waves, you can reprogram the conscious mind. And there are other ways by repetition to do that as well. But the deeper one, sometimes our memory, our emotions go in with the memory in the subconscious, and things like adrenaline. You ever have a bad experience, like a near life or death experience, or something traumatic that happened? How come it takes 1 million affirmations to undo that? Because hormones and adrenaline super glues emotion to the brain and into the subconscious. And it's like we can play that back like it just happened 20 years ago. So step one is slip into the gap and observe the subconscious thoughts. So conscious mind, willpower, long-term, logical and critical thinking. What is subconscious? Beliefs, emotions, habits, values, protective reactions, long-term memory, imagination, and intuition. And again, the brain doesn't know the difference. When you start picturing and envisioning you having what you want before you have it, that is the only way to truly get what they want. Why do you think some people, I've heard this in practice in chiropractic classes, that if you took a guy who was super successful and had a hugely successful practice and put him in, take all his patients away and move him somewhere else, in a couple months, he'll have a super successful practice. You take a guy who's not very successful in business or anywhere, and you take them and you put them in charge of a super successful business, in 6 to 9 months, it's going to be right back to where they are, because that's their wavelength, that's their frequency, that's their beliefs. That's how it shapes your reality. So conscious mind tries to use willpower to control behaviors, habits, and beliefs, but loses out the subconscious mind's greater influence. So again, the top of the iceberg, the bottom. Since the subconscious is not conscious and incapable of reasoning or thought, remember, the brain, the subconscious doesn't think, judge, or read. It's not reasonable. It is therefore non-judgmental and very flexible, and one could think of it as a hard drive of the brain constantly being programmed with life's data, beliefs. I'm going to be just like my parents. If it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Creativity, development, emotions, habits, addictions, bad behavior, addictions to things. Why we're filling the gap. We call the gap the general adaptability potential, I call it, which is your adaptability, and you're filling the gap of what you're lacking. You're trying to attract to you, self-sabotage, imagination, intuition, your values. A lot of these things aren't your fault. You've been programmed that way, but there's ways to reprogram, and it's by repetition. Why do you think in my 4-week and my 6-month programs, I'm like every other day or every day giving someone little tidbits to think about, how to say no to something, affirmations, working on the subconscious, and the talking to yourself like, I am thankful that I have. Start doing that to yourself. Don't say, I wish I had $1 million. I wish I had a successful marriage. I wish I had this. I wish I had kids that love me. Start saying, I am thankful that my kids love me. I am thankful that I have an equal partner, that we both do work together, but in different ways. And start changing the way you talk to yourself. Doesn't happen overnight. And it's not easy because we're programmed to think a certain way. But whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish with repetition and emotion will one day become reality. Earl Nightingale. Always use I have or I am. Never use I need or I want. When I say I need something or I want to be skinny, what are you saying? I'm not skinny. That's what the subconscious hears. I want to be skinny. You're not skinny. I want to be healthy. You're not healthy. When you say, I'm thankful that I'm perfectly healthy, happy, and successful. And then the more clear you are, the more likely you are to get it. So when you start to say, I am thankful that I have X amount of dollars in the bank, exactly the amount you want. I am thankful that I have awesome friends, and you fill in the blanks. I am thankful that I have great relationships with my husbands and my kids. Whatever it is that you want. I am thankful that I have great coworkers, I am thankful that and you fill in the blanks. What you start to do is I am or I have, it's the subconscious. You're talking to the subconscious, doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. What are you saying? You're saying, I already have it. What does the universe say? Oh, now they have it. Now I'm going to give it to them because now they have it. That's what sets in motion for you to have everything that you want. Does it happen overnight? No. Why? Because we've clogged our subconscious with so much viruses and junk. It could take a long time to reprogram. And a lot of people, when they start this, say, see, after a month, I told you it wasn't working. I told you. It takes longer. It takes work. It takes repeating. It takes getting the basic habits down and then repeating and getting self-confidence. Like when you say, I want to lose 50 pounds, what happens when you lose 1 pound at the end of the week? You failed by 49 pounds. When you say, well, my 2-year goal is 50 pounds. What do I want to lose? 1 pound. What happens when you lose 1 pound? I'm successful. I'm so successful. I'm going to go lose another pound. What happens? You're feeding your subconscious that you're successful. What happens? That's how you start to manifest and to get on a roll. And that's the difference in the brain. So the conscious mind up in here, your mind or your thoughts can accept or reject things. If someone tells you you're a loser, I can accept or reject that. But if someone tells you you're a loser when you're 6 years old and it gets into your subconscious mind and you feel bad about yourself, you can only accept that. You can't reject it. That's why so much damage happens to our self-image by the time we're 7 or 8 years old, because we're around bullies, we're around people that put us down. And that's where our success levels start. And they have a head start. If you're 50 years old and you got told you were a loser and you'd never amount to anything, 45 years later, you're still playing that. And what's happening? That's why people aren't as successful as they could be, because they've been told that and they believed it. So when your conscious mind, when someone says something, you should reject it. That's why they say if someone, well, this is a tricky one, because yeah, we want to listen to what our doctors say. If someone diagnosed you with cancer, I mean, I've heard at some of these mindset seminars that if you don't accept that you're sick and dying, that's one of the best things you can do. Let's say you were diagnosed with something that's incurable, and in your subconscious, in your mind, you'd been diagnosed with a terminal disease and illness. You're screwed, because you think if it's incurable and you believe that, that's what's going to happen to you. Now you can work with your doctors, but you have to start working on the mindset that no, there's nothing that's incurable, that my body can cure just about anything. And that I'm going to work with the doctors and with my lifestyle and diet, and I'm going to find a cure for this. But the critical part is, it's be careful what you believe when that happens. Oh, this disc will never get better. You need surgery. If you believe that, you'll never get better. If you believe, you know what, I'm going to continue, I'm going to find a way to fix it. Then the feelings get in, you can only accept in the subconscious, it goes into the body. That's where the results such as money, success, happiness, physical fitness, physical balance, diet, results come from subconscious. They get into the body. Your top of your brain, the most of your lobe of your brain is the conscious mind. The inside part, the hippocampus and the hypothalamus and the deeper parts of the brain stem and the middle parts of the brain is where your subconscious is. The outside conscious brain is accept or reject. And we got to reprogram our deeper brains to program. The brain manifests the expression of the program. Want to change? Change the programming. I wish I wasn't fat. If it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. I wish I could afford that. What are you saying? I can't. You could say, I choose not to have that. What is that saying? Well, I'm making a choice. I don't want to ever say I can't afford something. Why? Because you're canceling all possibilities of something. And the people that have really successful, I mean, Tom Brady, you think he just works on the physical body? It's mindset. People fear him and know if he has the ball with 2 minutes left, he's probably going to come down and score. Why? Because he knows he can beat anyone. And more often than not, he does. He finds a way to get it done because of the beliefs. So, can you change the way you react to stress? Can you improve adaptability? Brain, yes, you can. You can reprogram your body. You can use these to create more value. And it's repetition, over and over habits. A function of the mind is to create coherence and to reprogram between the programming and reality. And that's where the different parts of the brain, the delta and the theta, if you keep repeating something or listening to something and repeat it or get hypnosis, you can get rid of some of the bad programming that's screwing up your brain and change the way you go about things. When I started these programs working with people, I thought people wanted diet. I thought people wanted to lose weight. I thought people wanted to look better. They wanted to just make their physical bodies healthy. And then I realized most of people's problems is the subconscious programming, and it's in the mind. And yeah, it's why people keep going back and self-sabotaging, why people lose 50 pounds and they gain it all back. And what happens when that happens? Well, when you lose 50 pounds, a lot of people go about it the wrong way. They lose muscle and fat. And what happens when you gain the 50 back? You gain it all in fat. And then what happens? Muscles have the ability to burn fat. You have less muscle. It's harder to lose the next 50 pounds again. And now it's a cycle that keeps going. And then all the cycles we have in our life, we attract the same people. Can we get to the point where we are more in control of how we respond to things? It's not what happens to us, it's how we respond to what happens to us, and getting to be trigger proof. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. This isn't happening to me, it's happening for me. Well, that changes your mind of how that plays out. So abundance mindset, this is where the laws of attraction come in. So when you want something, you have to be clear of what you want and start manifesting and getting a behavior system to get it. That takes time. Manifesting and attracting what we want in our lives and acting as if we already have it. The brain doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. Repeated affirmations, hypnosis, listening, writing down, and repeating something like you already have it. That's the key to it all. And that's going to be it for today. But it sounds easy. It's not. It's doing the work. It's doing the work every day, getting a journal. This is part of the accountability in some of the programs that I run, is repeating this stuff. I don't do these shows every day like this. This is a lot of stuff in a week to get in. And you notice the first day there was like 30, 40 people on there. The next day there was like 15 or 20 people. The next day, and now there's like 6 or 7 people here. That's like Weight Watchers, and that's like the gym on January 1st. You can't find a parking spot and it's packed and there's all these people there. And by the end of January, February, it's back to normal. Where the gym that I used to work at, he said that 95% of the people don't come once a month. They just run $10 memberships because all these people go there and they think, hey, I got a membership, I'm going to the gym. And that's how you start manifesting. So mindset and working on, it's the little messages every day, learning how to say no, set boundaries in relationships, coworkers, behavior you're willing to accept and not accept. That's where the growth happens. That's why I call my programs a healthy me, because we're trying to be healthy. And when you realize that 90% of health comes from your mind, not from just what you eat and drink, but you need that initial, if you get your gut healthier, you make chemicals that make your brain work better. When you get brain clarity, what happens? Your subconscious and your conscious mind can accept things more easily because you're getting some of the junk out of it. So you need that initial step. And also self-esteem, when people start to see differences. Hey, when people start to say, hey, you look different. Hey, you're starting to look good. Hey, doesn't that make us feel good? It is good. And that's what starts to happen, is we start with the fasting and the diet and the simple stuff. And then 4 weeks later, we do another thing. In my bigger programming in the 6 months and a year, we work on a theme each month. Like we're going to work on getting to a longer fast, a 24-hour, a 48-hour. We're going to do a mindset challenge. We're going to give little things to do every day. Let's write down our why, a mission statement, make a vision board. Envision it every day of what you want. And what do you need to get what you want? Have it clearly written down what you want. What do you want to manifest in this quarter? How much, do you want to be at this job in a year? Do you want to be at the job you're in? Do you want to have the same coworkers? Do you want to have the same connection? Because here's what happens. You might not, when you change, the people around you change. So you might notice that your relationship problem is not the other person. It might be you. And so when you change you and your subconscious, how people respond to you changes. That's the key to making change, is we can't change other people. We can change ourselves. And one of two things will happen. When you start to grow and change, either one of two things out. You're going to get closer to your significant other, or you're going to find out that they weren't co-compatible, and you might grow apart. And that's the fear that some people have when making changes, because when you start changing, people, oh, now you're too skinny. I've had daughters who were jealous of their moms who end up losing weight and looking better than their daughters, say now they start to get triggered by it and like, you look, you're getting too skinny. You got a problem. You got an eating problem. Like they get jealous. And this could be a problem with some people. And when we program our we're okay with that because that happens, but people are in different places. A lot of people are not doing the work in life. A lot of people are getting by. They're going in the 9-to-5 job, and that's why they're not growing. When I started doing intermittent fasting and dieting, and I was working, go back. I was like, when I was working in Boston, working in my dad's office, I was working a lot of hours. I was eating on the road, eating junk food. My mind wasn't working right. I was exhausted. I had no energy to do anything else. I had no capacity. I always wanted to start a podcast. I always wanted to do a health program. What happened? I didn't have one. Why? Because I did not have the capacity to do one because I was exhausted. I had no more energy left and I was barely getting by. When I started working on myself and getting my mind and my energy back, I was looking for the next thing to do. Why? Because I had energy. Now I could start my podcast. Now I could stay up late and do my logo. Now I can make my hats. Now I can make a logo. And then I can start interviewing people on my day off because I didn't need to sit on the couch and eat chips because I was exhausted and I felt bad for myself and I knew I should be going to the gym and going out for a run. And what was I doing? Nothing. And I wasn't helping my wife enough and I wasn't shopping for the kids. And then I was showing up for dates. What happened? My wife would get the babysitter. My wife would pick the place out and I would show up and I was like, oh yeah, we go on dates. Those are there's a difference between unsedated and sedated dates. Sedated dates are, I'm looking at my cell phone and I'm watching TV and I'm not listening to my wife. What is an unsedated date? You get rid of the cell phone. The husband actually picks out the place, sets up the date. Maybe the wife does the babysitter. It's a surprise. And maybe there's some ideas like the husband and the wife pick out new places to go. What happens when there's new excitement? And a lot of women's complaints are they do all the work. They do all the planning. They do all the stuff. And you know what? They're exactly right. My wife was right. I wasn't planning dates. I was showing up. My wife got the babysitter. She'd pick out, where do you want to go? Oh, you pick it out. I don't want to pick it out. What happens? You lose a little your muster of your relationship and your connection. What happens when you start to get enlightened and get energy? You realize I've been screwing up. I'm going to lose my beautiful wife because she's vibrating at a different frequency than me and she's doing all the work and that's not fair. You become the self-realizations when you clear out your brain fog. That leads to a whole different thing that we're not going to go into, but you start to change your consciousness. And at first you become aware and you feel like you're a loser. And sometimes you'll need coaching to get through that. I have my own coaches that I help with that, of dealing with the narcissistic family and codependency. And there's just so much. Got to run, have fun. Deb, good to see you. I'm done anyway. So unless there's any other questions, everyone have a great day. And we'll wrap this up on Saturday. And again, I have some programs available. We do a 4-week program where we do a Zoom once a week. We do little daily messages. There's accountability in there and there's some growth. I would throw in, if anyone, I'll talk about it more on Saturday, but I'll throw in some things in there and it's way cheaper than if you were to get your own life coach. I do this as a group because I don't have time to do individual coaching. Some people charge $150 an hour to be coaches or more. And what happens is that's a lot. And it's a lot of repeatedness on the coach. You're repeating the same message as always. I love in a bigger group, and I can make it much more affordable for people if they were interested. I have no way. I am happy exactly where I am. I am not doing this program to recruit people. I am grateful, but I am here on a mission to help people. So I give people a taste of this in this group. And then if people want to join with me, they can. If they don't feel like they want to do that, that's fine as well. I hope you got something out of this. And on Saturday, we'll wrap it up. It'll be just like a 30,000 foot view of everything. And I'll go over the cost of my program. If someone wants to join, how they would do that, what it consists of. And I'll answer any questions that people have. And when people are ready, that's when they take action. Some people in this group, what I gave them is enough. Intermittent fasting, more minerals in water, working on affirmations and repeating, great. But if you want to join and get some accountability, we'd love to have you in that. And that's where we go. So everyone, have a great day. This will be up for another 2 days. The other stuff will be coming down. The first one's already out. And if you have any questions or anything you'll need to work on, send me a message, an instant message or something, or a message into the group if you have any questions so that we can add value. There will be no meeting tomorrow. Friday is not, I have a busy day and I can't do it. Saturday in the morning, I would have done it. I have a busy day with the kids in basketball. I'll be available at 1 o'clock. So everyone have a great day. Thanks for listening. And this is awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Have a good day.
Brian.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.